Who's there? You can torture me all you want. I know nothing of Mario's whereabouts. Your scavenger friend should have killed me.
Shh. We are the Travelers, Order of Light members who are caught in the middle of this war. We have lost trust in both the Elders and Overseers and come to rescue you to aid you and your friends in this fight.
Travelers? Ah, yes. I have heard of you.
We wish we could offer a better greeting, but Obsitan's Obesus is nearly here. We need to defend this temple and bring reason to the Elders and Overseers who are so blinded by their prophecies that they lost the true meaning of balance and compassion.
Our friend Gian is an Overseer. He helped us make it this far.
Your friend has just imprisoned your other friends and is using them just like the Elders have.
What? Who is there?
The one you call Constance and the members who play for the Elder magic bound to their trophy.
I must aid Constance and the others. Was the Dream Priest captured?
No, he is missing. The Elders only kept you alive because of this. Now come on, let's move. I sense the darkness is already here.
Foolish, pathetic creatures, my army will not be held back for long. The time is here, the master end will soon be ours.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Ball, the war within. We have arrived at the end of the regular season with all three division titles still up for grabs, including one final playoff spot. None of the matchups or final seeding in the playoffs is set either after a crazy final week of division play last week. This will be an eventful final week of the season. The playoffs essentially start for two of us. Some possibilities are going on that many didn't think would be possible just a few weeks ago. But here we are, and we get here after an unexpected where the Stars Are Right squad took on the Clash at Demonhead in the courtyard. Not that it matters to me, but the Stars Are Right squad pulled off the 100.76 to 74.96 win here, with the loss ending the hopes of a divisional title and first round bye for the Clash at Demonhead. The crazy thing is that both of our players to watch did nothing. Stephon Diggs was held to just 26 yards in an extremely disappointing performance. DK Metcalf did a little better with 32 yards, but also disappointed in a big way. The big reason for my team's win was trade pickup A.J. Brown, who dropped 132 yards and 2 touchdowns in the flex. Devon Achane added 134 yards and a touchdown, and Brenton Strange collected 45 yards and a score. Jackson Dart also scored a touchdown, and the Buccaneers defense had 2 sacks, an interception, and a fumble recovery. Trevor Lawrence led the Clash at Demonhead with a couple of touchdowns, and Christian McCaffrey added 74 yards and a score. James Cook had 177 yards, but did lose a fumble. Travis Kelce added another touchdown to his season totals, but negative points by Zay Flowers, and the Lions defense hurt big time. The Stars Are Right team is now 7-6 with the winner-take-all division game coming up. The Clash at Demonhead fall to 8-5 and are currently projected to be a 6th seed in the playoffs, though they could end up higher depending on who wins the divisions. Remember, the Titans kept division title and first round bye hopes alive with a 116.38 to 76.94 beatdown over Green Acres. Kamani Vidal decided to drop 137 yards and a 50-plus yard TD, while Evan McPherson went off as a kicker with 6 field goals, including 2 40-yarders and a 50-yarder. Trade pickup Jamar Chase added 110 yards, and Drake May collected 282 passing yards, 12 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Chargers' defense added 5 sacks and an interception. Rashee Rice had 94 yards and 2 scores for Green Acres, and Breece Hall and Kyron Williams also added touchdowns. Remember, the Titans is now at 9-4 and is only behind Golden Ticket in the Power Division by divisional record. A win and a Golden Ticket loss is what they will need to win the title. Green Acres falls to 6-7, but could still win the Dream Division with a win over the Stars Are Right team in this coming week. The Overcomers upset Golden Ticket 109.92 to 89.74. The Seahawks defense shut out Minnesota and added 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown for a monster 36 points. Jason Myers added 4 field goals, including 2 50-yarders, and Juwan Jennings and Lad McConkey both reached the end zone. Josh Allen added 2 more touchdowns as well. Bucky Irving returned from injury to collect 81 yards and a score for Golden Ticket, while Devontae Adams continued to shine with 2 more touchdowns. Brock Bowers also scored twice, and trade pickup Teteroa McMillan added a touchdown. George Pickens had 88 yards and a 2-point conversion. The Overcomers moved to 6-7, but are out of the playoffs due to tiebreakers. Golden Ticket falls to 9-4, but can still win the Power Division in a first-round bye with a win in this coming week. Thorlacker suddenly joined the conversation for a number 1 overall seed with a 112.74 to 88.2 win over the Fighting Mooses. Patrick Mahomes had 4 touchdown passes and nearly 40 points to lead the way. The Jaguars' defense added 3 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and just 3 points allowed. And Derrick Henry had 104 yards and a score. Cortland Sutton chipped in with 62 yards and a touchdown, and Tyler Warren also reached the end zone. Jalen Hurts had a couple of TDs to lead the Fighting Mooses, and Jalen Warren, Nico Collins, and Chris Olave also reached the end zone. Thorlacker is now 9-4 and can win the Shadow Division with a win next week. The Fighting Mooses fall to 5-8, but still have hope for a consolation bye. Loki Lebowski Thor has something to celebrate, defeating rival Treatum and Needham 71.66 to 66.64 to win the Strange Brew Rivalry Award. Trey McBride was a big reason with 82 yards and a touchdown, and the Miami defense added 4 sacks, an interception, and a fumble recovery. Quinshawn Junkins and Chase Brown each had over 100 yards, and Caleb Williams added a touchdown. Treatum and Needham left some major points on the bench, which obviously hurt. They did get touchdowns from Bo Nix and Chris Rodriguez, but they also lost the Sun God to an injury. Loki Lebowski Thor is now 4-9, but will be playing in the consolation quarterfinals. Treatum and Needham falls to 9-4 and now must defeat Thorlacker to claim the Shadow Division. Lastly, the Stellar Bitches defeated Pounders 92.6 to 78.72. Dak Prescott and Bijan Robinson led the way for the Stellar Bitches with 49.9 combined points. Prescott had 320 passing yards, a 2-point conversion, and 2 scores. Robinson added 193 yards and a touchdown. The 49ers defense chipped in with 3 sacks and 2 fumble recoveries. Pounders had 112 yards and a touchdown by CeeDee Lamb, and Javonte Williams added 80 yards and a score. Matthew Stafford collected 2 more touchdowns, and Josh Jacobs came back from an injury to get 91 yards. The Stellar Bitches are now 4-9 and will be in the consolation quarterfinals. Pounders falls to 2-11 and is guaranteed to be the worst seed in the consolation quarterfinals. So it all comes down to one game in the Dream Division, a division championship clash between Green Acres and the Stars Are Right. The winner moves on, even in a potential 3-way tie for first place with the Overcomers. A Green Acres win means they would have the better divisional record at 4-2. There will be no possibility of a tiebreaker in the Shadow Division. Treatum and Needham will play for the divisional title and the potential number 1 overall seed. Regardless, the winner is guaranteed a first-round bye. Treatum and Needham will be number 1 with a win. Thorlacker can be number 1 with a win, and if Golden Ticket wins the Power Division. Speaking of the Power Division, a Golden Ticket win over Lebowski Thor means they will have a 5-1 divisional record, so they would win the division regardless of whether Remember the Titans defeats the Stellar Bitches, because the Remember the Titans would have just a 4-2 divisional record. However, because they are both 9-4, a Remember the Titans win plus a golden ticket loss means they get the first round bye in the divisional crown. Remember the Titans can also be the #1 overall seed if Thorlacker wins the Shadow Division. Yes, this week is being set up to be a banger when it comes to scenarios, division titles, and first round buys, not to mention final seeding for all of us. There's even a match that will decide a consolation bye, essentially, which should be also a good one. I mean, no one really wants to remain in the running to be the dick butt, obviously. Of course, the 5 teams that are already in the playoffs will want to fight for that seeding and those first round buys, but in the end, they get to fight another week, regardless of what happens here. The same cannot be said for the winner of the Dream Division, which will be claimed in a winner-take-all battle in the next as my 7-6 The Stars Are Right team takes on 6-7 Green Acres. And it makes sense that this one takes place at the Temple of the Eye. Can we stop the shadows long enough to power up the Green Bull? Let's check in on our journey before we dive into this massive matchup.
Kian, I still believe in you for all you saw and experienced with us. Let us go while we still have a chance to stop the shadows.
You will be unharmed, but we need to sit on the throne once the eclipse peaks.
Foolish overseers, we will not let you win. Our magic is already holding up Obsitan Zabisus' army at the courtyard. What makes you think we won't destroy you all as well?
Because we have the Green Bowl and you cannot risk its destruction right now knowing the Dream Priest is still missing. I can assure you that the Dream Priest can enter your minds and take control.
Kian, stop! This is not the way! It is too dangerous!
Listen to your human friend. She knows of our power.
Kian, Obsitan Zabisus is not breaking through the barrier. The eclipse is almost at peak. Get ready to sit on the throne with the trophy.
You fools really didn't think we had a real plan. How many times must we outsmart you before you understand how powerful we truly are? Former champion, activate!
Yes, Master. Your word is my command.
What's happening?
I told you to listen! The Shadow still has a League member under their control! The one that used to open up the Master Realm! You gotta stop him!
Ah! No! It can't be! The prophecy!
Do not worry. We will enjoy toying with you all once we rule the realm, including your pathetic league mates who will be trapped for all eternity in an endless dream with no champions. Sit on the throne, Bounders! The Master
Our fate might be in the hands of Chaos now, as we seem to have lost control of the Master Realm, and for this huge matchup, Chaos could be a huge factor, with the computers calling it a 50-50 toss-up. The quarterback position will be interesting, with Baker Mayfield going for Green Acres, and an actually tougher matchup than many might think. Jacoby Brissett is a volume garbage time monster, but also has a more difficult matchup, so we'll see who wins that battle. The running backs will be big for both sides, surely. Kyren Williams and Brees Hall have good matchups and may get a lot of carries and opportunities to score. They do occasionally get vultured by backups. On the other side, Devon Achane will need to shine like a superstar in a good matchup, while DeAndre Swift will be needed to get double digits in a tough matchup. A.J. Brown versus Rashee Rice is interesting too. Both have tough matchups, but both have had multiple good weeks in a row. Can that continue? Brenton Strange and Darren Waller will be a touchdown-dependent tight end, as usual, at that position. And Jalen Waddle versus Kareem Hunt is also possibly about touchdowns. Hunt has the tougher matchup, though. Both kickers and both defenses are expected to score a lot of points here, so whoever can get an advantage at both of these positions will be feeling pretty good. And that leaves 2 players I'm going to highlight for this division title matchup. For Green Acres, I turn to wide receiver Jamison Williams of the Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, otherwise known as the Sun God, is expected to miss the Thursday night game against the Cowboys. This means that Williams is projected to be the number one wide receiver and get those number one targets with his speed and versatility. Williams started off slow, but since a bye week has started to come on strong. He has caught touchdowns in 4 of the past 5 weeks. He has had over 100 yards twice and over 60 yards in 4 of the 5 games. He also had an odd goose egg against the Giants, which really came out of nowhere. In that game, he only had 3 targets, but he had 10 targets last week after the Sun God went down with an injury. The biggest thing, he averages 18.6 yards per reception, which is why he has 706 yards on just 38 catches. He's a playmaker who could make a game-changing play every time he touches the ball. And of course, the Cowboys are ranked dead last against wide receivers this season, allowing a mind-boggling 21 touchdowns to the position. They allowed 167 yards and 2 touchdowns to Malik Neighbors and 142 yards and a score to Wan'Dale Robinson back in week 2. They allowed 3 different Bears receivers to score in week 3. Romeo Doubs went off for 3 touchdowns in week 4, and Teteroa McMillan collected 2 scores in week 6. Even Troy Franklin scored twice against this defense. And last week, another one of Green Acres' receivers, Rashee Rice, had 2 touchdowns against Dallas. Williams could be poised for a division championship winning week here. If he gets high targets and collects yards and then also gets multiple scores, that will be extremely difficult for my team to keep up with. But if he somehow is limited and is held out of the end zone, that could be the biggest blow in a matchup that's a 50-50 toss-up. As for the Stars Are Right squad, my season probably hangs on the balance of whether Puka Nacua can play like a top 5 receiver. Nacua is a reception and target beast with at least 6 catches in all but 2 games this season and double-digit catches in 4 games, though the last one came way back in week 5. He has had at least 8 targets in all but 2 games and already has 1,019 yards. The problem is he only has 5 touchdowns, and one of those was a rushing touchdown. Devontae Adams has become the go-to red zone vulture, meaning Nacua is getting all his yards between the 20s and usually has to break a big play to get a long touchdown. Surprisingly, the team Nacua plays this week, Arizona, they're 13th against wide receivers this season. Some of that might be because they've been blown out most games, and teams just went to running the ball against them. Also, defenses scored a bunch of points, too. Nacua might need to do damage in the first half for risk of being limited, which only boosts Green Acres if Kyren Williams starts to get more carries. The Cardinals have allowed 7 scores to wideouts this season, just 7. Only 3 have had 100 or more yards, too. McMillan had 100 yards in week 2, Ricky Pearsall 117 in week 3, Kelvin Ridley 131 in week 5. And all of these games includes 2 games against Jackson Smith and Jigba, though he did have 93 yards and a score last week, and 1 game against CeeDee Lamb. If Nacua can continue to get targets and catches, the key will be adding a touchdown to get a 15 to 20 point game. That would be a gigantic boost for my team. But if Nacua is once again held out of the end zone, he might need well over 100 yards to put up a good score. And that seems very unlikely here, meaning it could be the death punch to a terrible second half by my team. In the end, though, one of us has to make the playoffs and be the number 3 seed. This is essentially a playoff play-in game. It will have a playoff feel to it. I mean, really, for us, the playoffs start right now. But even though the stakes are highest in our matchup, there are some other wild matchups on the slate. Division titles, first-round buys on the line. Let's start with the matchup that can determine who gets a consolation bye. As 6 and 7, the Overcomers take on 5 and 8, the Fighting Mooses in the Dream Division. The Overcomers clinch a consolation bye with a win. It will go to tiebreakers if the Fighting Mooses win by more than 3 or more points. They will get the consolation bye because of that, if that happens. Even if Green Acres loses, who would get the top consolation bye if they don't make the playoffs. And because both of these teams need to make moves, the computer has it as a 50-50 toss-up. Josh Allen versus Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley versus Kenneth Walker, and the Seattle versus Denver defenses look to be the biggest areas. Nico Collins versus Ladd McConkey could be key as well. Let's move on to the Power Division. 9 and 4 Golden Ticket takes on 4 and 9 Loki Lebowski Thor with a simple task. Win to claim the division and a first-round bye as the number 2 seed. Guess what? The computer has this one as a 50-50 toss-up somehow, probably due to uncertainty around Drake London's availability. Lamar Jackson versus Caleb Williams will be very big with how Jackson has played lately. Bucky Irving and Tony Pollard versus Chase Brown and Quinshon Judkins looks to be a key spot for Lebowski Thor. George Pickens and Devontae Adams versus Keenan Allen and DJ Moore is big for Golden Ticket. And don't sleep on the Brock Bowers versus Trey McBride matchup at tight end. These might be the two best tight ends in the league. Of course, if Golden Ticket loses, this opens the door for 9-4 Remember the Titans as they play 4-9 the Stellar Bitches. Remember the Titans currently has a 75% chance to win with the uncertainty around Alvin Kamara. Joe Burrow versus Dak Prescott should be a fun spot. Prescott does have the better matchup. Jahmyr Gibbs versus Bijan Robinson is huge for the Stellar Bitches' chances here. The other big advantages for Remember the Titans is that wide receiver as Jamar Chase and Jackson Smith and Jigba goes up against Rome Odunze and Jordan Addison. Moving on to the Shadow Division, 8-5, the Clash at Demonhead takes on 2-11 Pounders. The Clash at Demonhead can move into the 4 versus 5 quarterfinal depending on results, but will be guaranteed the 6th seed if they lose. Pounders looks to avoid having the worst winning percentage by a defending champion in league history and comes in with a 62% chance to win, and Obsitan Sabisu's clearly on his side. Matthew Stafford versus Trevor Lawrence and James Cook versus Josh Jacobs is obviously key. It will also be interesting to see if Devin Neal can keep up with Javonte Williams. CeeDee Lamb and Scary Terry have an edge over Zay Flowers and DK Metcalf, and the Eagles' defense also has an edge over the Lions. Lastly, we get another division title and first-round bye in the line as 9-4 Treatham and Needham takes on 9-4 Thorlacker. Treatham and Needham will be the number 1 overall seed with a win. Thorlacker will be a number 1 overall seed with a win and a Golden Ticket win, or Remember the Titans loss. Treatham and Needham needs to make major moves right now. T. Higgins, the Sun God, and David Njoku are all banged up, possibly could miss this week's games. Thorlacker has a 73% chance to win because of this. Jared Goff versus Patrick Mahomes will be massive, as is the Jonathan Taylor versus Derrick Henry matchup. And don't sleep on the R.J. Harvey versus David Montgomery matchup. Watch out for the Texans versus Jaguars defense, too. It is fitting that we're getting such an action-packed final week of the regular season with what is expected to be an action-packed playoffs with some of the potential matchups of the quarterfinals and semifinals based on like what can happen seem to be insane based on how our seasons have gone. I truly believe the atmosphere will be playoff-like for most of us this week, even though some teams are guaranteed another playoff game, obviously. It should be fun. It should be chaotic. That's the show for the week. Hope you enjoyed it. Join us next week as we dive right into the playoffs with our quarterfinal matchups. Plus, we learn the fate of us and our friends in the Master Realm. Until next time, salut. Check out the updated power rankings before you go.